If someone had warned me that the final gift my mother placed in my palm would one day settle at the bottom of a swimming pool, while my sister-in-law Amanda laughed like she was watching a sitcom, I would have thought they were insane. Yet that's exactly where I stood, at another perfectly curated Matthews family barbecue, listening to Amanda's bright, tinkling giggle cut across the patio as I watched the only thing left from my mother slip beneath the blue water and disappear. The ring was never extravagant. No jeweler would appraise it for more than lunch money. Just a thin silver band with a soft, milky opal that glowed in the sun the same way my mother's eyes used to when she smiled. She pressed it into my hand 3 years ago, right before cancer took her. Her voice was barely above a whisper when she said, "Keep it close, Kate. It'll protect you when you really need it." Back then I assumed she was floating on painkillers. But watching Amanda's practiced expression of faux shock spread across her face now, I wondered for the first time if my mother had understood exactly what kind of family I'd been walking into, and what I'd someday have to stand against. "Oh my gosh," Amanda gasped theatrically, pressing manicured fingers to her lips. Her designer sundress fluttered around her like she was performing for an audience. It just slipped right out of my hand. But honestly, Kate, who brings sentimental jewelry to a pool party? So impractical. My husband stepped forward, disbelief tightening his jaw. "Amanda, that was my mom's ring." "Oh, please," she said, slicing him off with a breezy flick of her wrist. The diamonds on her flashy wedding band, her so-called real Matthews heirloom, sparkled smugly in the sun. It was basically costume jewelry. "We'll just get her another one at Target." I remained still, eerily calm, staring at the ripples spreading over the water where the ring had sunk. 5 years of Amanda's accidents had taught me endurance. 5 years of her saccharine comments, her poisonous smiles, her subtle humiliations wrapped neatly in politeness. I had become an expert in breathing deeply, waiting quietly, choosing my moment. "It's fine, Jack," I murmured, reaching for my bag. "Amanda's right. It's just a ring." Everyone around the patio shifted, their eyes darting anywhere but at me. They had witnessed Amanda's behavior for years, the veiled insults, the conveniently forgotten invitations, the countless dinners where she accidentally ignored my food allergy. But today she had crossed a line. This wasn't a casserole dish or a seating arrangement. She had destroyed my mother's last gift. "See," Amanda chimed sweetly. "Kate gets it. Now more sangria? I made it with organic fruit from this adorable little farmer's market." "Actually," I said gently, pulling my laptop from my bag, "before you pour another round, I thought we could watch something together." The USB drive felt warm between my fingers, so small for something carrying so much weight. Amanda froze for half a second, just long enough for me to catch the spark of real panic before she slapped on her usual glowing smile. "Honey, no one wants to watch videos at a pool party. And it's too sunny for screens." "Don't worry," I replied, plugging it in. "This won't take long. Just some footage I stumbled on from Vegas, about 10 years ago." The sangria pitcher wobbled in her hand, ice clattering. I don't know what you think you found," she muttered. 10 years ago. Long before she married Jack's brother. Long before she rebranded herself into the immaculate suburban wife. The Pinterest-perfect mother. The PTA darling. The pristine Matthews woman she insisted she'd always been. She buried her old life so deep she probably convinced herself it no longer existed. "Kate?" David asked, stepping closer, confusion knitting his eyebrows. "What's happening?" "Nothing dramatic," I said calmly, angling the screen toward the gathering crowd. "Just a bit of family history. Amanda adores lecturing people about being genuine, about being worthy of the Matthews image. I figured she'd appreciate a reminder of her own authenticity." Amanda's face drained as she recognized herself in the paused frame on the screen. Her younger self in a setting that looked nothing like this manicured backyard. "This isn't," she began, her voice cracking. "Not what?" I asked softly. "Not the polished Amanda who judges everyone else? Not the one who posts perfect photos while whispering insults behind smiling teeth." Her eyes fell to the ground. "This," I continued evenly, "is the Vegas version of you. With a different name. Different crowd. Very different morals." "Turn it off," she hissed, the mask slipping. But by then, relatives had already gathered around, pulled in by a mix of curiosity and dread. Even the kids had stopped splashing, Sensing something seismic had shifted, Jack's hand settled on my shoulder. Kate. I layered my hand over his. I'm as sure about this as I was when I married you. Despite Amanda telling everyone I only wanted your family's money. As sure as I was when I swallowed every insult she sugarcoated. As sure as I am that my mother's ring is sitting at the bottom of that pool because your sister-in-law finally showed who she really is. Amanda's entire expression cracked open, panic replacing her usual poise. David, she pleaded, voice trembling. Don't listen to her. Whatever she's going to show you, it's fake. Edited. She's always been jealous. Jealous of our success, our life, jealous of me. Jealous. I let out a slow, quiet laugh. Of what? A life stitched together with lies. The silence that settled over the patio felt unnatural, like the air itself had paused to listen. For years Amanda had twisted every conversation, every gathering, every whisper until people saw me exactly the way she wanted. Small, inadequate, forgettable. But not today. David's face was colorless, his breath uneven. I'm sorry, David, I said softly. This is going to hurt. But after everything she's done, everyone deserves the truth. My thumb hovered over the play button. Even the pool filter hummed loud in the stillness. Birds chirped somewhere behind the fence. Amanda's breaths were quick and shallow. Wait, she said, stepping forward, clinging to the sangria pitcher like it was keeping her upright. We can talk alone. I'll replace the ring. Any ring you want. I glanced at her immaculate dress, her perfect jewelry, her eyes full of panic. The funny thing is, I said, my mom was right. The ring did protect me. Because the second you began spreading little rumors about my past, I started digging into yours. Her grip faltered. The pitcher slipped from her trembling hands, smashing against the patio. Glass burst like a miniature explosion, and red sangria seeped across the concrete, dark and thick, staining her designer sandals. It's time everyone sees the real you, I said and pressed play. The screen lit up, and Amanda's carefully polished reputation crumbled faster than the broken glass. A younger Amanda, back then known as Crystal Rivers, stood in a Golden Nugget casino uniform behind a blackjack table. She looked like a completely different woman from the pastel-perfect version standing here now. But it wasn't the old job that made David collapse into a chair. It was what came next. Turn it off, Amanda whispered. Her voice, once sharp and commanding, had shrunk into something small and frightened. Those records were sealed. Sealed things open easily, I replied. Especially when someone pours time and money into uncovering the truth. Just like you paid your friend to dig into my life last Christmas. The footage shifted. Crystal, Amanda, slipped out of the casino with a man who certainly wasn't David. A date flashed in the corner. 8 years into her marriage. Just 2 years ago. James Morrison. A high roller who'd lost millions at her table. And the same man whose fortune suddenly returned a month later through a mysterious offshore account. I can explain, Amanda stammered, her manicured nails digging into her palm. David, baby, this isn't what it looks like. Really? I paused the video. Because it looks like you helped pull off one of the biggest casino cons Vegas has ever seen. Funny how Mr. Morrison suddenly got lucky after those private meetings with you. David's expression hardened. You told me you were visiting your sick aunt in Phoenix, he said hoarsely. The sick aunt doesn't exist, I replied. Just like the charity foundation, where all those fundraiser donations disappeared. The patio was so silent the ice melting in cocktail glasses sounded loud. Jack's parents stared at Amanda, their golden daughter-in-law, the woman they'd always held up as the model Matthew's wife, watching her unravel thread by thread. I did it for us. Amanda burst out suddenly, turning to David. For the kids, for our life. Do you know how expensive it is to keep everything running? The club memberships, private schools, the charity events, spa appointments. And the secret apartment, I added smoothly. Plus the hush payments to your old Vegas friends. David stood slowly, betrayal etched into every line of his face. What apartment? What payments? I opened another file. Would you like to see the lease? It's under her old name. Cozy place. Lovely skyline view. Ideal for meetings she didn't want anyone to know about. Amanda lunged for the laptop. Jack stepped in front of her. For the first time ever, he looked at his sister-in-law without blind adoration. Jack's mother finally spoke. This is a family matter. Perhaps we should discuss it privately. I laughed once low. Like when she privately told everyone at the country club that I was a gold digger. Or when she pulled our fertility doctor aside to imply I wasn't fit to be a mother because of my lifestyle choices. Gasps rippled through the patio. Even Jack turned sharply to Amanda. You did what? Amanda didn't hear him. Her eyes were locked on the USB drive still plugged into my laptop, the one holding everything she tried to bury. There's more on there, isn't there? She whispered. 10 years worth, I said. Lies. Schemes. Manipulation. Every secret you hid to keep your perfect little image intact. Her voice cracked. What do you want? I breathed in slowly. I want my mother's ring back. I want an apology for every cruel lie you spun about me. I want you to stand in front of this family and admit you've been deceiving them since the moment you walked into their lives. And if I didn't, I would turn the laptop so everyone could see the screen. Then I'd send copies of everything, the casino scam footage, the charity fraud documents, the apartment lease trail, the offshore transfers, to everyone who needed to see them. The police, the FBI fraud division, and the society pages she adored so much. You're bluffing, Amanda said, but her voice shook. Try me. I stood, gathering my things. You have until tomorrow morning to hire someone to retrieve my mother's ring from the pool. Then we'll discuss what happens next. As I headed toward the house, I heard David's voice, tight and controlled. Amanda, give me your phone. Now. Jack followed me inside, catching my arm in the dim foyer. How long have you known? About 6 months, I admitted. Ever since she tried to convince your parents I was embezzling from my own company. I hired a private investigator. Turns out karma leaves excellent paper trails. He ran a hand through his hair, looking pained. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I touched his cheek softly. Because you needed to see who she truly was on your own. And because, I smiled faintly. My mother always said timing is everything. Through the French doors we saw Amanda sitting alone by the pool. Her perfect image shattered like the broken sangria pitcher at her feet. David stood in a corner making hurried calls, likely to his lawyer. The rest of the family gathered their things and slipped away, muttering excuses. You know this changes everything, Jack said quietly. I nodded, thinking of my mother's ring at the bottom of the pool. Sometimes everything needs to change. A sudden splash made us turn. Through the window we watched Amanda, still fully clothed, wading into the pool, frantically searching the bottom for the ring. The next morning my doorbell rang exactly at 7 a.m. Amanda stood there, hair disheveled, makeup gone, perfection cracked. In her trembling hand was a small velvet box. Here, she said, thrusting it toward me. I had to hire an emergency diving service. Cost me $500. But I found it. I opened the box slowly. My mother's ring lay inside, the opal catching the light the way it always had. Something tight in my chest finally eased. Thank you, I said softly, sliding it onto my finger where it belonged. Would you like to come in? She hesitated, startled by the invitation. Why are you being nice to me? After everything. Because unlike you, Amanda, I don't enjoy watching people suffer. Even when they've hurt me. She followed me into the kitchen. Morning sunlight spilled across her tired face. Without her usual armor of makeup and designer clothes, she looked almost human. David's leaving me, she said abruptly, sinking into a chair. He's already contacted the lawyers. Something about fraud and separation. I set a mug of coffee in front of her. I'm truly sorry. She let out a hollow laugh. Isn't this what you wanted? To destroy my life? No, I leaned against the counter. I wanted the truth out. What happens next is your choice. My choice. Her hands wrapped around the mug. You have evidence of federal crimes on that USB drive. My life is over. I pulled the drive from my pocket and placed it between us. Not necessarily. The originals are backed up somewhere safe. But what happens to them depends on you. Her eyes locked on the tiny device. What do you mean? I mean you have a decision to make. You can keep being Crystal Rivers, pretending to be Amanda Matthews, running scams and ruining lives to maintain an image that was never real. Or you can be honest. With your family. And with yourself. Honest? She echoed faintly. I don't even know what that means anymore. Then start simple. Start with David. Tell him everything. Not just what's on the drive, why you did it. Tell him about growing up poor in Vegas. About dealing blackjack to pay for school. About being terrified someone would discover your past. Her head snapped up. How did you? The investigator found your real background too. The daughter of a cleaning lady who fought to build a better life. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Tears spilled down her cheeks, streaking the last of her mascara. You don't understand. The Matthews family. Their world, they'd never accept someone like me. They accepted me, I reminded her gently. Even when you tried to convince them I wasn't good enough. She stared into her coffee for a long time before whispering. I was jealous. You walked into this family completely yourself. I spent years crafting perfection and you. Because perfection isn't real, Amanda. And pretending it is only hurts everyone around you. Her trembling fingers reached for the USB drive. So now what? Now you fix what you broke. Start with the charity money. I know it's gone, so replace it. Then talk to David. Tell him everything. If there's any chance of saving your marriage, it begins with truth. And if I do all that, the evidence? I lifted my mug. Prove to me you can change. And the files will never see daylight. But if you ever try to hurt my family again. She nodded, understanding the unspoken threat. At the door she paused. Why are you giving me a second chance? After everything. I touched my mother's ring, remembering her last words about protection and strength. Because the strongest thing you can show someone is mercy. But don't mistake mercy for weakness. I'll be watching. After she left, Jack came downstairs. He'd heard everything. You're really giving her a chance? I smiled, leaning into him. Everyone deserves one. And besides, I looked at my ring glowing softly. Mom's ring is back where it belongs. And so am I. 3 months later at Christmas dinner, Amanda stood to speak. She looked different, less polished, more real. Her voice wavered, but she told the family everything. David held her hand the whole time. They were in counseling. The charity money had been returned, with interest. The apartment was sold. As she spoke, I touched my mother's ring and smiled. Sometimes protection comes in unexpected ways. Sometimes the truth, however painful, sets everyone free. And sometimes at the bottom of a pool, we find not just a ring, but redemption.